Hey, it's Shay and welcome back to the final day of Bookmas. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to thank every single one of you for watching this series and following along. I haven't posted day 2 yet, but the response to day 1, my journal ecosystem, has actually been a bit mind-blowing. I did not expect it to get the amount of views that it's gotten so far, so I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful for you all for watching and liking and commenting. I wanted to do Bookmas this year as a push for me to start posting more on YouTube in the new year, and this just gave me a little bit more confidence to post more. So thank you so much. I'm so glad that you are enjoying what I've put out so far, and I hope you enjoy what's to come in the future. It is the start of a new year, so I wanted to talk about my 2026 bookish goals and challenges. Since about high school, I've always set a yearly reading goal. It was always a numerical goal, whether it be 25 books or 50 books or 75 books. But at the beginning of 2025, I started to move away from focusing solely on a numerical goal, and I wanted to think more holistically about how I approach reading. So to start that, in 2025, my goal was to only read 12 books. And you may be thinking, why would you set a numerical goal if you're trying to move away from that? But the point was for me to set it so low that I knew that I could reach it. I reached it by the middle of February, I think. So I could spend the rest of the year just focusing on reading the books that I loved. And my 2 other goals were to DNF more and to get rid of monthly TBRs, which are 2 goals that I did do in 2025. So I wanted to lean more into setting more holistic goals for the year. And I have been seeing people in the bookish space move away from these numerical goals, but I do think a lot of us are still reliant on setting that number. A lot of the bookish and reading apps that we're using, like Storygraph or Fable, do emphasize those type of goals. I always get the notifications, it's time to set your yearly goal, or you're this much behind or this much ahead of the goal that you set for the year, which I think is fine. I don't think it's a bad thing to do, but I did get to a point where I would set a goal so high and then just beat myself up by September or October in the year where I knew that I couldn't reach it. So I wanted to move away from that, and I think us as a bookish community can move away from things like that in order to prioritize more holistic goals. So if that's you, I hope this inspires you a bit more. Ironically, the first goal that I set was to read 12 books. Again, I'm not completely writing off numerical goals. I just think we can use them a bit more strategically. So 12 books for me is very easy. Like I said, I reached it very early in the year last year. I expect to do the same, but I also know that, let's say something major happens in my life in January or February, I know that reading 12 books throughout the year, even if I'm in a major slump, is not hard for me to do. It's just an easy one for me. It's attainable, and I know that I can feel confident in reaching that goal. The next thing that I have is to read all of Toni Morrison's novels, and I actually created a reading challenge over on Storygraph so everyone else can join me. I want to read them in the order they were published, so starting with The Bluest Eye and ending with God Help the Child. Toni Morrison is one of those authors who I keep saying I want to read more of her work, and I have started reading her work. I've read The Bluest Eye and I've read Sula. I've loved them both, but I just never prioritized reading anymore. So I said enough is enough. I'm just going to make this challenge, and I'm going to tell all of you all, because if I do that, then I have someone to keep me accountable to reading it. The total number is 11 books. I want to read 1 book a month with the wiggle room of maybe missing a month or even finishing early in November. But if you would like to read all of them in the first quarter or the first half of the year or the second half of the year, or read a ton in January, February, and read the rest in November, December, by all means. The only structure is that we read all 11 books and read them in the order in which they're published. So I will leave a link to the Storygraph challenge below so you all can join, and if you are posting about it anywhere, feel free to tag me at Shay the Reader. I would love to see what you're thinking about the books and how your opinion of Toni Morrison as a writer, as a storyteller, evolves as you read through her backlist. The next challenge is another one that I've created called Read Liberia. I started it last year in July, so I wanted to bring it back this year again. If you don't know, my mom's side of the family is Liberian, librarian, and before then I had never read a book by a Liberian author, so I felt like I was doing myself a bit of a disservice in that respect. I read a ton by African American authors, but just none of Liberian authors. The challenge is from July 1st to July 26th, which is Liberian Independence Day, to read 2 books by Liberian authors, 1 fiction and 1 nonfiction. I didn't finish the challenge by July 26th. I did read 1 fiction book. I started the nonfiction and didn't finish that until around November, so I will kind of count that as a win. It wasn't in the allotted time, but it was really just to give me a chance to read Liberian authors. The book that I did finish, She Would Be King by Wayatu Moore, is one of my favorite books of all time now because of it, so I'm hoping to find more of my favorite books as I continue to do this challenge. The third reading challenge is another one that is throughout the entire year. This is a very popular one, I think. It is the Anti-Brain Rot Reading Challenge by Jenny from This Story Ain't Over. When I first came across it, I was actually very happy that I saw it because some of the things that were rules in this challenge were goals that I was already thinking about setting for myself. Specifically when it comes to reading across different genres, I tend to read a wide range of genres, but there are genres that I just don't read, and I wanted to start reading a bit more of that. I also love that it's prioritizing reading books by authors from around the world. There's also the rule to create a critical media journal, so we're thinking a bit more critically about the media that we're consuming. There's the personal curriculum aspect. Like, there's just a lot of things incorporated in this challenge that already felt true to what I do and things that I was wanting to push myself to do more of in 2026. I feel like it's the perfect challenge if you are a fellow thought daughter, if you like to critically engage with your media, if you love to learn. And there are a lot of different ways to participate and engage. There is like a beginner friendly version of the challenge. You can join over on Storygraph. I know she's been posting about it on Substack and YouTube. There's a Discord for it as well. There's just a lot of ways to participate. And the last reading challenge that I have on this list is How Worlds Break, How People Survive by Dr. Brianna Whiteside. And this is a group read of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. It would be a reread for me because I read it for the first time early 2025, and since then I keep saying that I would like to reread it. Dr. Bree's video came up on my For You page and I immediately jumped over to Substack, which is where she's like hosting this course, and it's about 9 to 10 weeks of reading through the entire trilogy. Since I've subscribed to her Substack, she's been posting a lot of essays and resources, discussion questions about the book and how we can be approaching the story and what N.K. Jemisin is trying to portray in this trilogy. If this is something that you're reading for the first time, I would highly recommend reading in a group setting. I like that I was able to read by myself the first time to get my own thoughts and feelings out. However, I know that it's such a dense and complex story that it might be helpful to have other people to rely on as you read the trilogy. And then the last few things that I have on my list are just other bookish habits that I kind of started in 2025 and I want to continue. The first being no monthly TBRs. I can't say no TBRs in general. I know myself in that when fantasy fall comes around, I want a TBR. Sometimes I will create a 10 before the end, knowing that I won't finish all of these books before the end. But monthly TBRs are just a no for me. I don't think I've ever stuck with them. I feel like they've caused me more anxiety than like motivation because I'm such a mood reader. I like to just go wherever my mood is taking me. So I will continue no monthly TBRs in 2026. The second habit is tracking my physical TBR account balance. I saw someone doing this on TikTok at like the end of 2024 and have been doing it since then. If you subscribe to me over on Substack, I post a monthly newsletter about all of my books and like media that I'm consuming, and I do include my physical TBR account balance. There's no like real goal other than to track all of the physical books that I have on my TBR. I've been collecting books for probably over a decade now. I've been a reader my entire life, and ever since I had the funds to buy books is when I started buying books. So I am a part of the community that believes buying books and reading books are two separate hobbies. I think it's just imperative that I know the amount of books that I have on my physical TBR, and it's nice to just keep track of those numbers as it fluctuates throughout the months. And the last habit is keeping a digital catalog of all of my physical media. I use a website called Libib, and it's just a way for me to scan all of my books, my CDs, vinyl, movies, etc. Everything, like all of my physical media. I have it scanned into this website, and there's an app that goes with it. So when I am inevitably out and about now and I want to purchase most likely a book that I don't remember if I own or not, I can easily look it up there, and it's the easiest thing for me to do. Ever since starting it, it's been extremely helpful to have, and it kind of goes into me tracking my physical TBR. It's just nice for me to have in one space all of the media that I own. So those are all of my 2026 bookish goals, habits, challenges. I feel really good entering this new year in terms of reading and media consumption in general. Thank you so much for watching and following along for Bookmas. If you made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments what bookish goals you set for yourself in 2026, and I will see you next time. Bye.